It's great to see everyone, and it's a great privilege to be here with Dan. Dan, I first met when he was hunger striking with Extinction Rebellion on the steps of Parliament House, with really not much weight to lose, and then getting frighteningly skinny, doing radio interviews on Queensland radio, because he's from cold country in Queensland, so perfect messenger. But of course, has gone on to launch the famous Twitter campaign, Coal Miners and Teslas. So over to you, Dan.
Great, thanks very much, Jane, and nice to see everyone. I can see plenty of familiar faces in the chat today, so nice to see everyone. I'm actually in Tassie. I'm on Kununyi, which is known as Mount Wellington, on unceded land. So just want to pay respects. Yeah, so today I'm going to do a talk about Twitter, and it's something that I've been wanting to do for quite some time, but just haven't really got around to it. The history of how I got involved in Twitter is, yeah, I did quite a few actions with Extinction Rebellion. I wouldn't call myself an organizer. I know there's some incredible organizers in the audience today, and I take my hat off to you. I'm not a very good organizer, but I do like to get amongst it. So yeah, basically I joined Extinction Rebellion after the 2019 election, and then started getting involved in some of the actions that were being organized, and yeah, did a hunger strike, and glued on at Siemens, and was arrested there, and started getting some media. And then when the pandemic hit, I decided to change my focus to digital activism, and focused on Twitter, mainly because of some of the things that you're able to do with Twitter opposed to other platforms. And I spent you know, I was getting JobKeeper. My business was basically closed. I was on JobKeeper, so I was just, you know, basically tweeting all day, every day. So mostly 14, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, monitoring the media, wake up in the morning, listen to the Radio National, watching news broadcasts, following journalists, and critiquing their framing of climate. And it then expanded into all sorts of things. So I'll go through some of those things today. So first of all, the theory of change is that every conversation and every word counts. That's just in life, every single day. The conversation you have with your hairdresser, conversation you have with the person that makes your coffee, every word counts. My theory of change comes from Yuval Noah Harari. I'm not sure if he came up with this, but it was in one of his books. He wrote Sapiens and Homo Deus, which is my favorite book. In that book, he gives this example, which draws the analogy between humans or any animal with a brain and an algorithm, and how algorithms work. And basically, he gives this example, which is, if you just imagine like two trees, and there's a monkey in one tree, and there's bananas in another tree, and in between the trees there's a lion, and the monkey is looking at the bananas, and it's looking at the lion, and it's receiving this information through its eyes. It's probably receiving smell information as well, and listening. And so all this data, all this information is going into the monkey's brain, and it's processing. And the monkey's thinking, how fast is the lion? How fast am I? How ripe are the bananas? Am I hungry? Am I sick? Am I injured? Is the lion injured? Do I know any tricks to beat the lion? All these things are processing in the monkey's brain. And then when it comes up with a result, the result is either fear or adrenaline. And if it's fear, the monkey's going to go for the bananas. And if it's adrenaline, if it's adrenaline, the monkey's going to go for the bananas. And if it's fear, the monkey's going to stay in the tree until the next day and try again. But basically, every single animal on the planet is operating at this level. We all are, and we're all born with almost a base algorithm where you know, we respond to our environment and our experiences. And then each experience that we have slightly changes our algorithm. So the monkey may have, when it was younger, the monkey might have learnt a few tricks to beat the lion. So that would have shifted its algorithm and shifted its decision-making process. But what it means is that, again, every conversation matters, and every word counts. So if you can reach someone with a particular message, whether it's through speaking or through social media, you are affecting the way that person sees the world, and they'll wake up the next day and they'll see things slightly differently. So that's my theory of change that I follow. Also, mass global connection and decentralization of media. That's what's happening right now. Twitter is also self-curating. So if you jump on there and you start telling lies, people are going to expose those lies. And that's why a lot of conservative politicians don't fare too well on Twitter. They don't like using it. And Twitter is really dominated by progressive, what we would call progressives, but what I would call people who tell the truth. Because if you're not telling the truth on Twitter, you get exposed pretty quick. Yeah, it's self-curating. And the other thing I try to do is to be bold, fun, and audacious with the actions and messages. And that's really what Extinction Rebellion is. It's probably learned a lot of that from XR, and make things that are highly shareable and things that resonate with people. Here's my stats from the month of April. So from May, I started coal miners in Teslas, and I could no longer spend 16 hours a day on Twitter. So my stats have come down since then. But in April, I was tweeting 1,000 times a month. Last year, that was at 2,000 times a month. So it was about 60 times a day. In April, my tweets had over 12 million impressions, which meant they popped up in front of people 12 million times, over 12 million times in that month. I had 75,000 profile visits. It was up to 90,000 at one point. And yeah, my followers are now up around 18,000, but in July it was 14,000. So why Twitter? Twitter is by far the most efficient platform for disseminating information. It's a very simple platform. You have a tweet and a comment. They're the same size, and both the comment and the tweet have the same functionality. And I think here it's good to think about the difference between Twitter and Facebook, and that Facebook, you have a predominant post, and then under that post, you have smaller comments, which are kind of stuck within the post. They can't escape out and start their own conversation. And then those comments have replies, which are again smaller. So with Facebook, you have a dominant post and it's kind of siloed. Whereas with Twitter, you have a tweet, and the tweet can be retweeted or commented on. So you can have a vertical stack of comments, and then each one of those comments could then be retweeted and start its own thread. So it can almost be, the communication travels vertically, but it also travels horizontally. And, I might put out a dumb tweet that gets 4 likes, and then Jane might put a whiz bang zinger of a comment in, and it might get 1,000 likes and get retweeted and then start a whole new thread. So it's nice to think of Twitter as like an ether of information, and we're all injecting our own thoughts into it. Information on Twitter can be targeted at specific people, for example, politicians and journalists. So you can tag a politician and a journalist, and they'll get a notification saying that someone tagged them. So a journalist, if you tag a journalist in a particular, if you do an action and you tag a journalist, that'll come up in their notifications. So you can directly contact anyone who has a Twitter account. Whereas with Facebook, that's a lot more difficult. Yeah, so unlike Facebook, conversations move horizontally and vertically. Tweets and comments have the same size and functionality, and it's not siloed. The other thing is Twitter has a highly engaged and influential and politically engaged audience. So, if you might reach 100 people on Facebook, but if you reach 100 highly politically engaged people on Twitter, perhaps some of those are political staffers, perhaps some of them are journalists, you may get a bigger bang for your buck in terms of impact. Many politicians don't like Twitter, but they get sucked into it. So if you're looking for what's happening around the world, you don't go to Facebook, you go to Twitter to be up to date on what's happening. And all journalists, every journalist is basically on Twitter because they want to see what's going on, and a lot of stories get broken on Twitter now. So a lot of politicians, they don't fare too well on Twitter. Like your Craig Kelly's, he does very well on Facebook, where he's got a captured audience, but on Twitter he just gets torn to shreds. So he doesn't pop his head up very often there. But they still would have, a lot of these politicians, they would still have anonymous accounts, and they would be monitoring Twitter, and they get sucked into it because it's, you know, it is a such an incredible platform. And yeah, I think Twitter is really the communication platform for the world at the moment anyway. I want to just go through some case studies. This one is one that I think is really powerful. So last year we had the Black Lives Matter protests, and I thought it was interesting to compare the George Floyd protests with the Rodney King riots, in inverted commas. So the Rodney King riots that happened in 1992 was obviously a long time before the social media took off. And at that time, these riots, the reporting of the riots was dominated by 4 or 5 major media organizations, and they were able to set the narrative of what happened, you know, by framing them as riots and whatnot. And so you didn't have Twitter, or you didn't have any social media, or you didn't have citizen journalism that was able to respond to that. So as I said, the narrative was dominated by the mainstream media. Fast forward to 2020, and you know, we've had Twitter for over a decade, and a lot of people are comfortable with using it. During the 2020 BLM protests, the mainstream media couldn't control the narrative because people were posting videos of police bashings and getting millions of views. So you would have Fox News trying to run a particular line on the Black Lives Matter protests, that they were riots and whatnot, trying to contain it. But then someone in a particular city might post a video of a police bashing, and it would get 1 million views, and then the mainstream media would have to report on it. So it really changed the dynamic of the media. The entire world could engage with Black Lives Matter protests and share and retweet events and influence their own local media. And this is actually what I did during the BLM protests. So I switched my account to the US and was you know, checking what was going on, and using the hashtag #OzPoll to draw the media's attention to different videos that I saw. And anyone can do that. We are now all citizen journalists. We all have phones and platforms, and the global media is transitioning from centralized to decentralized format, and we shouldn't be afraid of that. We should embrace that. I think it's a wonderful thing. Second case study is the I Stand with Dan versus Dictator Dan wars of the Melbourne lockdown debate last year. And I'm sure there's probably some people listening who were there for that, or that, you know, came across that, but it went for a few months. So these are 2 articles that came out months after. One's from ABC and one's from The Guardian. And basically a lot of social media analysts looked back at those months, and they found a few things which I'll go through in a sec. But basically what was happening, you had News Corp trying to push Victoria to open up, and then you had this battle going on Twitter where you had the I Stand with, now this is regardless of where you stand on the issue, this is just an interesting case study, but you had the I Stand with Dan crowd, which was supporting lockdowns to get to 0 cases. And then you had the Dictator Dan hashtag, which was apparently run by some, you know, paid accounts, or paid anon accounts. So it really was a battle, and it went on for months, and it was every day that they're trying to compete to see who would get the top hashtag to influence the debate more. And yeah, the mainstream media tried to frame the pandemic restrictions as harsh and pushed for early opening during high case rates. I Stand With Dan and Dictator Dan battled each day for dominance on Twitter. And the Twitter analysis later showed that it was just 50 to 100 accounts on each side were driving the bulk of the engagement and setting the top trends in Australia. So when we see things trending in the top 10 trends on Twitter, which journalists would be all over every single day, it's not that many people. It's 50 to 100 people on either side. So, you know, there's big opportunities there. Journalists, yeah, respond to trending topics, which influences what they report on and how they report it. This then reaches a much larger audience. This can be used to elevate the climate emergency on Twitter and reframe reporting. Just another quick case study here. So this is Murdoch's Petition panic. So last year, you'd all be familiar with Kevin Rudd's petition, which is the largest e-petition in Australia's history. Over 500,000 people signed it. There was an article that came out during that time which suggested that Rudd was using Bangladeshi bots to boost this petition, which was complete lies. It was complete garbage. And some people on Twitter got Murdoch's Petition panic trending to #1. And I had a few tweets in that top trend. This was happening every week, but in this particular one, had a few tweets in the top trend there. And actually had a few tweets in the top trend for that day, and then I was actually attacked by a few News Corp people. So one of the editors of the Courier Mail had a swipe at me, who I'd never interacted with before. He sent 3 tweets basically criticizing me and calling me names. This guy here, Damien Tomlinson, and then Rita Panahi, who's a Sky News anchor, she also posted 3 tweets basically abusing me that day. And then later that day, I had 39 text messages come in to reset my Twitter account, and this all happened in the same day. So they were, you know, trying to or they were reacting to this trend. And anyway, I put all of it into a thread and just screenshot all the tweets and all the text messages and basically threw it back in their face. And then this tweet got, you know, quite a lot of engagement as well, 650 likes, and then 167,000 impressions on just this tweet alone, which you can just click here and you can see how many impressions you got. So you know, it's powerful, and when they're responding like that, it shows that it's having an impact, I guess. So when you've got a small account, when I first started, I didn't have many followers, and you know, if you put a tweet out and you don't have many followers, you're not going to get much engagement. But what you can do is you can get into people's comments, and you can leverage off larger accounts. So leveraging off larger accounts, we're getting to the comments. Say like someone like Kevin Rudd, who's got a big following, you can, if you put something into his comments that resonates well, you know, you can get a lot of likes and you can get a lot of new followers. So there's the bell icon, which I suggest when you're on Twitter, using the bell icon for a number of people. So when we look at our friend here, Angus Taylor, what you do is, I'll just unfollow him to show you. You go to his account, you click follow, and then you click the bell icon. That's off now. Now it's on, and that means you'll get a notification, which your notifications are up here. You'll get a notification when Angus tweets, and if you do that, then you can jump in quickly into his comments. And the earlier you get into his comments, the more people will see your comment, and the more people will like it, and it'll, you know, the earlier you get in, the higher you'll be up in his comments, and you'll get more and more exposure. So that's pretty cool. Now, something else that I did last year was you can drop a lot of information into people's comments. So if you follow some politicians and you want to expose their connections with the fossil fuel industry, you can do something like this. So last year, I set up this account called Access to Shrub. This is just another Twitter account. And there's a link to this account on my account as well, which I'll show you later. But basically, this account is just the number of threads. And a thread is just a bunch of tweets that are kind of linked together. So you can create these threads. So this one here, the pinned tweet, this is a thread. And each, you'll see that here's number 2, here's number 3. These are all connected in series. And basically what I did was with a friend, we basically collated a lot of information about all these different politicians and their connections to the fossil fuel industry. So here's Matt Canavan, and you know, here's some critical information about him. It's, you know, his brother is a director of Peabody Energy, which is the world's largest coal company. What he voted for, all this kind of stuff, and it goes on and on for all these different politicians. Now, what I did for months is copy this tweet and drop it into his comments. So to do that, just a bit of background on tweets. So every tweet, if I click on this tweet, I'm now in the tweet, and you'll see in the URL, it has a unique number here. So each tweet actually has its own URL, and you can copy that URL by just copying it up here, or you can copy it by clicking this little button here and just copy link to tweet. Then when Matt Canavan, and I've tagged him in this, so when Matt Canavan tweets, you can literally go into his comment. I'm going to do this now and whoops. Let me just go back because I didn't copy that. So I can copy this link here, and then I can just go to Matt Canavan's profile, and then I can see he's you know, he's got a tweet here, and then I can just comment on that tweet, and then I Control V. I'm literally pasting the URL and reply, and there it is. So underneath this tweet that he made a couple of days ago, he's now got this Access to Shrub tweet in there, which, you know, shows all his connections and blah blah blah. So that's a little strategy that I was using for quite a while last year, and it's cool because you can just keep reusing it. And you know, anyone who follows these guys on Twitter, they're going to see, oh wow, you know, Angus Taylor's connected to all these gas companies and blah blah blah. So that's pretty effective. That's been pretty effective, and I kind of noticed that after a while, some of them kind of stopped tweeting, which was cool. Yeah, dropping into Angus Taylor's comments. Here's an example of one that I did last year. So Angus Taylor was about to do a press club address last year in September, and he tweeted, it was literally you know, a few minutes before, and there would have been a lot of journalists in there, and I dropped this in there, and you can put text in as well. So you drop the link in, as I showed you before, but then you can also put text at the top, and you know, this got 292 likes and, you know, 7,500 impressions, and it was probably seen by a lot of journalists who were at the press club. You know, they would have been monitoring Angus Taylor's Twitter account before the press club address. So, you know, it's another thing you can do. So then some tips. If you don't have many followers, focus on commenting rather than tweeting to begin with. Fast comments with the bell icon. So yeah, if there's particular people you want to jump in their comments, just click on the bell icon, you'll get a notification and you can jump in there quick. Follow journalists, monitor the media, the radio, tag and call them out on poor framing. If you're listening to Fran Kelly on Radio National and she's asking the same old question on what's the economic cost of acting on climate change, tweet her, tag her, call her out and say that's not, you can't frame climate like that. Follow all the politicians, expose their connections to fossil fuels. Follow political commentators. So after a while, you'll get to see some accounts are more influential than others, and yeah, it's good to promote them or, you know, critique them if they need critiquing. connect with each other and boost each other by liking and retweeting each other. So, there's so many Extinction Rebellion activists out there. If we all connect with each other and retweet each other, we can boost each other together. Tweet fearlessly. don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to tag people and call them out. Incorporate memes. A good way to do that, jump on, there's a great website called canva.com, which probably a lot of you have heard of. You can create perfect Twitter sized memes. Get on there, have some fun, make them funny, and start throwing them around. And yeah, get comfortable shooting and posting short videos. This is something I've done obviously in the last few months with my new series. Don't waste characters, short, sharp, and punchy. Another quick thing on bookmarking. So I'm just going to go through these slides a bit quick now because we're probably running out of time a little bit. But so bookmarking, you've got a little icon down here on the right hand side. That's opens up this little sub menu. And if you see a tweet by someone that you want to keep and use later, just add it to your bookmarks, and then you can access your bookmarks in your side panel there. That can come in very handy for dropping in information that you've seen months ago and maybe it becomes relevant again. Your profile, make the most of your bio. So I'll show you mine in a sec, but I do things like link to Extinction Rebellion sign up, use your banner, use your pinned tweet. So this is my bio. This is my profile. I've just got, climate activist engineer, and then I've got a link to my Miners in Tesla's account, and I've got a link to the Access Disrupt account, which is the one I showed you just before. I've got a nice little quote, which, I'm sure all of you have little quotes that you think people, are impactful. And then I've just got a link here to join the rebellion. So we've got, this is the Oz Rebellion page. And again, when you think back in April, getting 70,000 profile visits, it's pretty impactful. Your pinned tweet, so you can make a tweet as a pinned tweet. So say if I wanted to make this tweet my pinned tweet, you can just click on this menu here, and you've got an option to pin it. At the moment, I've got Big Dave Foster, who's the former world champ woodchopper. I've got him as my pinned tweet, and that's because I want more people to see this. So I make it my pinned tweet, and that way, as more people hit my profile, more people see this tweet. I'm just going to play this for 2 minutes, just to have a bit of a laugh break. So enjoy.
World woodchopping champion and Tasmanian icon, David Foster, in the driver's seat.
Thanks very much, Daniel. I'm looking forward to it. Firstly, I was a bit worried about fitting in here, but shit, how much room you get for this, for the price. It's bloody good. Eye of the tiger.
You want to get a bit of that going?
We'll get a bit of that going. Get the fist up. You can do this, David. Yes. Another world title today. I'm a little bit excited about this.
You should be.
Here we go. Ready?
Hit it.
Shit.
Hang on to it. You pulled out.
I pulled out. It frightened the shit out of me.
You want to have another go? Just pull up again.
That frightened the shit.
You're totally fine. This car is super safe, and as soon as you get to 100,
give me a bloody. That nearly gave me a heart attack. I nearly got whiplash. Holy shit!
You're prepared for it now.
Jesus, I wasn't prepared for that.
You want me to count you in?
I wasn't prepared for that. Yeah, okay.
3, 2, 1. Hang on to it. Hang on to it.
Oh, it's making me feel giddy. Holy shit. That was a sensation that I've never had before. It just felt like my head was going haywire.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's like a G-force.
Yeah.
It's
definitely at least 1 G pushing you back there.
Bullshit. There was 15 G's, I reckon. Hey, mate, I'm 170 kilos, and I tell you what, that pushed me back in that seat here.
Yeah.
That was just unbelievable. I could not. I actually felt, mate. That was. I'm on a high.
You're a bit lost for words, David.
Mate, I am.
Just let your foot off, and now hit it again.
Oh. It makes you feel giddy.
Yeah.
But mate, that was the experience that I've never ever had in my life.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I got a great buzz out of winning world titles, but let me tell you, I got a great buzz just out of that bloody 3 seconds of my, well, I think it might have been 1 second to start off with. It frightened the shit out of me.
I was going to say, I reckon my mum didn't get to 100 Ks either, but I reckon she got closer than you.
I didn't know what to expect. Your mum is a lot more gamer than me first up there, let me tell you.
World wood chopping champion and Tasmanian.
So, can everyone still hear me? Hopefully everyone can still hear me. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that.
We can hear.
Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that little, that's my pinned tweet. And I made that my pinned tweet because I'm quite proud of that one, because Dave's, you know, he's a cultural icon down here in Tassie, and he's probably not someone you'd normally associate with electric vehicles. So yeah. So that's that. Let me just go.
Before you move on, one of the questions in the tweet is just to tell a bit more about the coal miners driving Tesla's campaign. Like, I think a lot of us know it, but maybe some don't. Just even if you just explain it briefly.
Yeah, sure. So in back in May, I have a Tesla Model 3, and in May I took that up to my hometown Clermont in central Queensland, which is a mining town, and my brother works in a coal mine up there, and basically he took the car and let a bunch of his mates drive it, and I just told him to film their reactions, and they all loved it, and it blew up, and this guy, which I'll show you, I'm just going to show you this a bit later, but this is the first video of this series, which has had over 200,000. It's had 200,000 views, and it went this clip here went viral around the world, and got shared in the US and the UK and everywhere really, and yeah, it's basically just showing how much fun electric vehicles are, and completely reframing EVs and saying that coal miners love clean tech as well. And then that turned into when I saw that, or when I realized how impactful it could be, and reframing the discussion, I turned it into a YouTube channel called Coal Miners Driving Teslas, and we're now up to episode 58, I think. And yeah, we're just taking coal miners and other people in central Queensland, and then started taking politicians. So we took 4 senators and 3 federal MPs, and then the last few weeks I've taken Bob Brown and Christine Milne, and it's turned into a longer format discussion. But yeah, so video can be really powerful if you can make it funny and entertaining. And yeah, is that all, Jane? You want me to?
Yeah, that's good. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've got a few more things here. Let me just hide this again. Yeah, so
We've still got, no, it's gone. That's all right. Sorry, we had a box, but
yep, it's gone. So yeah, so this is the Miners in Teslas thing. I turned that into its own little account, its own little series. Just quickly, this one's another quick one. Proud sewer rats. So in March, Chris Uhlmann was suggesting that people on Twitter are like sewer rats and having a go at us. So we got hashtag proud sewer rat trending to #1, and basically people started putting little rat icons in their profiles and basically saying, you can't, Twitter people aren't like, there's not a specific breed of people that's a Twitter person. It's just frustrated journalists who are losing control of their own narrative that seem to be lashing out at these so-called Twitter people now. But anyway, that was pretty fun to turn that back around. And yeah, just finally, like, have fun with it. If you David Rowe makes some great cartoons, and like, it's always fun to drop them into Angus Taylor's comments. So just, yeah, go nuts, and yeah, don't be afraid. And thanks for listening, and yeah, I'll take as many questions as you like.
So we've got a question that follows on very well from that, which is, can you hide tweet comments on Facebook like you can on can you hide tweet comments like you can on Facebook? Like, can Angus hide that if it appears on his feed on one of his
yeah.
tweets?
I think he could, but I don't know if they do. Like, it's highly frowned upon. Can you see me now? Am I back? Or
Yeah, you're back.
yeah,
You're back.
it's highly, like, it's kind of frowned upon to hide or block, and people who block on Twitter, they lose a lot of credibility. And so there was a couple of there's a couple of Victorian Liberal MPs who were blocking, and like I started making certificates for people when they got blocked, and then just on Canva just make a certificate and saying, you know, blocked by Matthew Guy, and then just post that and then tag them. So you're just like turning it straight back on them and saying, oh yeah, these guys are blocking everyone. That, you know, they're too afraid. They can't stand on their own words. You know, they're too afraid and they're blocking people. So they don't generally. Yeah, Angus Taylor hasn't blocked me, and if he hasn't blocked me, then he won't block anyone probably.
Put cartoons like that on and it doesn't block you. That's pretty good test.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a couple of technical questions. Well, one more technical question only. So keep on posting some more now if you'd like. Andy and Violet ask, is there a good platform to manage multiple accounts?
The base Twitter platform, you can switch between accounts pretty easily. I haven't, like, I've had a lot of people suggest to me to use like Hootsuite, and there's these other platforms that you can use. And to be honest, I haven't looked into any of those platforms. A lot of people have told me that I should, but I'm a bit of a purist with Twitter. I just like to be there scrolling through the things that I follow. I mean, like, when I'm into it, I'm scanning through probably, you know, thousands of tweets every day, and I think Twitter, just the base Twitter platform, is very good for that. But yeah, Hootsuite, and there's others. If you look into it, you could probably find some other platforms to help with that.
We've got Sally says TweetDeck still uses up a lot of juice. Most journalists run 50 to 100 channels. Wow.
Yeah,
that's a TweetDeck,
I know.
right?
Yeah, I've heard TweetDeck's really good as well, and it's probably something I should look into, but I've just never got around to it. Too busy tweeting, probably.
We've got also a question just about using cartoons without permission. Is that a problem?
Well, I mean, that David Rowe one, you're actually copying his tweet, so you're kind of referencing him. He's happy because he's getting his material out there further. So you copy the, like I showed you before, just click copy the tweet and paste it. Other stuff, I don't know. No one's ever said you can't use that or whatever. I think the world's changed pretty quick, changed a lot on that. It's just it's a free for all. You're just throwing stuff up there, and you know, by the next day it's all forgotten anyway. Well, you know, so yeah.
So related to that, is it okay to use a pseudonym?
Yeah, I mean, I don't use anon accounts. Because I want my I think people, when you use your own account and it's a real account, it adds more weight to your words, and it shows like that you're not hiding behind anything. I know probably a few people have heard of PR Guy, who's another big account on Twitter, and he and we used to get along pretty well. We don't anymore, but he's quite influential. But he's an anon account, and like he'll never get the credibility that I do, because whoever it is hiding behind an anon account. But I mean, that's not to say that you shouldn't do it. If you don't feel comfortable putting your name to stuff, then yeah, use an anon account if you feel safer doing that. Okay,
so here's another really important question from Alex. Ridiculous and unpopular views get prominence on Twitter as comments. Should these be answered or ignored?
That's a good question. So it's really, don't get sucked into stupid arguments. Keep in mind, this is a really good question. So keep in mind that there's going to be a lot of trolls on there, paid trolls, that want to hijack the conversation and move it in a certain direction. And we know, as people who are in Extinction Rebellion, that we've done the fantastic courses that Jane Jane introduced us to, that we need to shift the Overton window and shift the framing to where we want it. So if you see something, if you comment on something, just keep in mind you're giving that comment weight, or you're shifting into that frame. So always be mindful of your framing and keep focused on the framing that you want to set, and don't get sucked into, I mean, I'm sure there's even paid trolls out there that are just trying to soak up time. So don't even get sucked into those. Just keep your eyes on the prize.
That's a really good point. All right, from Param, the ultimate definition of difference between @ and hashtag, and when should you use each of them? Param says it's a stupid question, but it's a really fundamental and important question, and I don't know the answer to it.
Yeah, and it's not a stupid question. And you know, I set up my Twitter account in 2013 and used it for 2 weeks and thought, I don't understand this, it's weird. And then I didn't use it again for 6 years. So, and then I started using it in 2019. So once you do wrap your head around Twitter, you start to get it, and you start to go, wow, this is really a incredible platform. Hashtags aren't probably as powerful as they used to be. I mean, the @ is the actual, it's what's called a handle. So my handle is @Daniel Bleakley. So if you want to draw my attention to a tweet, say, Jane, if you see a tweet about electric vehicles and you say, oh, Dan would love to see this, you could just, in the comments, you could put @Daniel Bleakley, and I would get a notification and it would pop up in front of me. So you're drawing my attention to that, you know. You can do that for journalists as well. If you conducted an action and you want to draw some journalists' attention to it, you could fill that whole comment full of @journalists, and you just get, you know, you follow them, you get to know what their handles are. Just tag them, and you'll draw their attention to your action, which, you know, can be tough to get media coverage, but if you tag a whole bunch of journalists, that's great. Hashtags, if you want to get amongst hashtags, like the Insiders hashtag today on Sunday is always a big one on Sunday mornings. If you've got a zinger, chuck the Insiders hashtag on there on a Sunday morning, and you might end up, you know, high up in there. Starting your own hashtags can be tough. Like, PR guy does it very well, but I'm pretty sure that he's got an organized team behind him that he can leverage off, he or she, whoever it is. Hashtags, probably not that big a deal. I'd suggest you're more effective getting into the comments of large accounts, getting into the comments of journalists, and, you know, reframing a lot of the stuff that they're saying into the framing that we want to see out there.
Okay, look, a related question from Tim. Apparently you should not use the opposition's hashtags. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Don't give, it comes back to that old saying, don't feed the trolls. They want us to come into their frame. The Dictator Dan hashtag that was generated by paid trolls. Like, we know that. And when progressives are trying to, you know, go against it, all they're doing is blowing it up by using it. So just ignore, you know, it's the old saying, don't feed the trolls, ignore the nonsense, and it'll fade away. Promote the good stuff in the comments, promote the stuff that fits with our framing and our objectives, and it'll float to the top. Ignore the garbage, and it'll go to the bottom. Same with Facebook, really.
Mm. So you definitely don't want to help someone else's hashtag trend. I have heard of a couple of campaigns where they basically kidnap the hashtag. So like some coal company or gas company came up with, you know, gas is good or something, and people sort of put a whole lot of stuff under gas is good or whatever it was, I can't remember. So that the hashtag started to end up, you know, being like a satire. But anyway, you'd obviously have to be coordinated. You can't just do that as one person.
Yeah, that's right. That's a really good point. Like, and there've been some incredible campaigns where hashtags have been hijacked. There was when Trump was still in power, there was a group called Kpop, which is I think it was South Korean, but it was, you know, everyone was jumping on there, and they would capture a lot of his hashtags and dominate them with weird things that were just not related to the hashtag at all. So, but if you need mass coordination to do that kind of stuff, and maybe if XR gets really good at Twitter globally, then we've got a big resource and we can coordinate some of these things. Then yeah, that's something we could do. But to do that, we need as many XR rebels on Twitter as we can get.
Emma's commenting that apparently has happened with Australia has fallen at the moment. I haven't heard about this one, but anyway, that's a hijacked hashtag apparently.
Yeah, just a quick one on the Kpop thing to show you the power. When Trump, in the lead up to the election, the US election, Trump was holding big rallies, and the Kpop crew, whoever they are, basically ran a campaign on Twitter to get everyone to buy up seats at the Trump rally. And so they bought up all the seats, booked all the seats, and then when Trump got there, there was none of his supporters were there. So that's like a Twitter campaign that's just had massive impact in the real world. You know?
Well, that's the best hijack.
Yeah.
Oh, so Alex asks, how does this mass coordination happen? Is that offline? Like if you wanted to do that Kpop thing?
Yeah, so I don't really participate in offline organization. My stuff is kind of responding to the day's politics, and to do that, you kind of have to be engaged in the day's politics, which I know most people don't have time to do, and that can be really draining. But you know, if XR groups are, you know, we've got the best organizers in the country. If we can organize stuff like that, then let's try it. You know, I'm pretty sure that's what other accounts like PR Guy are doing, and PR Guy gets things trending every day, top trends, and it's only probably a handful of people. If XR can get coordinated behind the scenes, maybe we can do so much more than that, because we've got rebels all over the world that could engage in this and help boost Australian tweets. Yeah.
Well, I think, yeah, even if we don't do it all the time, like to do it over the next month or so leading up to and during the UN climate talks, you know, we probably should get at least a small group together and try and, you know, we don't have to keep track of all politics. We just have to keep track of the relevant issues for us. And even over a short time, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah. I'm just going to show another quick thing while I think of it. So I'm just going to share my screen again. So I made this account recently called at XR Mycelium. Now this is just a little experimental thing. This is an account, XR_Mycelium, and in the banner I've got, the purpose is to connect Extinction Rebellion groups around the world on Twitter so they can support each other's posts with retweets, likes, and comments. So how it works, we follow XR groups from around the world, click on our following list and connect with all XR groups. If your group isn't on our list, follow us and we will follow you back. Retweet, like, and comment on other XR groups to help support their posts. Now, all you do is go to the following. So I just followed a bunch of XR accounts around the world. So so XR Mycelium just follows all these XR groups all over the world, and you can just go in here and follow them all yourself and help to promote and boost them, and you can stay across what everyone's doing. And again, use the bell icon. You know, if you want to see what Extinction Rebellion Zimbabwe, follow them and just click on the bell icon, and then every time they tweet, it'll pop up and you'll get a notification, and you'll be able to help promote them as well. So it's really about connecting with as many people as you can and working together.
We've got one more really practical question. Does it matter if you leave a space or a full stop before the at or in between? You know that thing about where you start a tweet with at?
Yeah, so if you're replying to someone, if someone tweets and you reply to them, that reply won't be weighted as heavily unless like other people are retweeting it out of that thread. But yeah, it's just a little thing. But try not to start a tweet with a handle. So we say a handle, someone's handle is like their account, and that handle is at Jane Morton or at Daniel Blakely or at XRVic or whatever they are. Don't start your tweet with that, because I think Twitter interprets that as a reply. So often if my wording means that I do need to start it with that handle, I put a little full stop just before it, and then you'll see that it's not included in the link to that handle. But yeah, that's just a little tip.
Yeah, I've got a feeling if the at is first, it goes just like a straight private message to that person. It doesn't even appear in the tweets at all. Is that right?
Well, it's still not private, because it's on your, like, you've got direct messaging, DMs, which are private messages, but every tweet you make is public. It'll be on your feeds somewhere. But it'll carry more weight if you don't start with an at. Don't start with a handle. Yeah.
And I don't know whether this is a question or I just take it as a comment from Trish. The thought of seeing a couple of 100 tweets a day makes my eyes bleed. Please comment. How do you keep it up?
Well, Elon Musk was once asked like what drives him, and he said he has a rage demon in his skull. And I also have like a rage demon in my skull, and every day I just want to be across as much stuff as I can and respond to it, and just, it's a daily fight, and try not to be emotional about it. Just try to see it as like gathering information or being across the day's politics. Who's saying what, who's saying good stuff about climate, who's lying about climate change, being across all this stuff. Like, being on Twitter gives you a huge amount of knowledge of what's going on. Like, people who aren't on Twitter, they're missing so much. Like, they're missing so much of what's happening, and it can make you really mad and insane, because you're seeing so much stuff that doesn't even make it into the news about corruption or all these things that are going on. Most people are just oblivious to it. But if you're reading, like, my friend has 3 kids, and he wouldn't get time to read 1 article a day, and I probably read 20 articles on Twitter. And so I'm seeing a lot more than he is, and that's why I'm a lot angrier about the state of the world than he is. But then I also have, that allows me to have a lot of influence on Twitter, because I have a broader knowledge than a lot of other people in that space.
One quick anxiety-provoking question. Do we have to worry about that new ruling on defamatory comments? Like, do we have to watch everyone who comments on our tweets and worry, or?
I don't think we should worry about anything. I just posted I might need to worry about this, but I just posted a video of me calling up the office of Katie Allen MP last week, which was a bit naughty. But I like the saying, the saying, change happens when we no longer fear. And if we're all fearless in our tweets and we're ripping into them every day, we encourage others and we inspire others to go further as well. So yeah, don't worry. What are you more worried about, your comments or climate change?
All right, so look, there's all sorts of fantastic commentary going on in the comments. There's ideas about, look, we're just warming up really. We could go for another hour, but
I'm happy to go for as long as you want. So
no,
yeah.
Look, I'm afraid we've got to learn how to interact with the right-wing media straight after this.
Oh yeah.
It'd be great if you can stay. I don't know if you can, because you're someone who does interact with the right-wing media, right-wing politicians. It's all part of the same general approach, isn't it?
Yeah,
maybe just
happy to.
One of the interesting questions we got was whether you've got any memes or phrases that you sort of haven't used that you've been dying to try out, or particularly for Extinction Rebellion, any inspirational tweet ideas or memes?
Not really. I really act, a lot of my stuff, it's in the moment. So if I'm reading through an article about climate or whatever, if I'm reading through a Guardian article or the ABC and something pops into my head, I tweet it straight away, because if I bank it or if I put it aside and I have to go and get it out and I have to think about it, is it in today's context? You know, next week it's going to be in a different context to today. So I'm a big fan of just, if a zinger pops into your head, just tweet it now and take advantage of the moment. It's really, another way to think of it is like, the reason that News Corp, you know, Fox News, Murdoch became so powerful was the daily turnaround of media. You know, it shifted from like stories, the speed at which things get out there, gave a big advantage to media organizations like News Corp and other mainstream media organizations. That's a daily turnaround. We can go even faster than that on Twitter. You know, we can do it in a minute, in the hour, in the minute. So we're able to so if News Corp puts a story out in the morning, if it gets enough tweets around it, we can reframe that story and change the line of that story, and then that'll affect tomorrow's reporting. You know, that'll affect everything that follows. So it's all about speed, and yeah, don't hold back. Don't put anything in the bank for use later. Use it now, and yeah, use it fast.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I mean, it's always such a pleasure to hear your ideas. Like, I think they're all in that category of, like, once you've heard it, it sounds so obvious, and yet until you heard it, you didn't realize that's what you were meant to do. So yeah, thanks heaps for your hour. Like, I reckon we could have gone for 4 or 5. And maybe we should get you back another day, but I'll sign off now, because that way we can get a 13-minute break before we learn an approach to talking to right-wing media. But look, thanks heaps, and thanks to everybody who's been part of this too.
Yeah, and thanks very much.
We will be sending out the slides, right? Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah, I can definitely send out the slides, and if anyone has any questions, just direct message me on Twitter, like, and communicate with each other on Twitter, because then you can drop information to each other and stuff as well. But any questions, let me know, and I'd be happy to. I'm glad I've finally put some of this stuff down. It's good that you pushed me to do that finally. But I'd be happy to do some follow-up talks as well. So
great.
Thanks for organising it.
Oh, look, it's going to be a fantastic resource. And look, just stay on this video, on this link, because the next one follows straight on at 3:15, so you don't have to go find another one. And yeah, once again, thanks again. I'll stop recording and I'll see everybody in 12 or 13 minutes.